running a business getting more expensive now, and the cost of borrowing. If you're trying to rely on debt at this point to run your business, but all of this in a bid to tame inflation, definitely a sensitive balancing act there. And we'll be discussing this now. And also next month, we're going to be marking Cybersecurity Month. We'll gauge the readiness for Nigeria's capital markets for that. And this new age of everything going on the internet at this point. But let's join us for this conversation. We have Mr. Haruna Jallo Waziri, is the Managing Director, CSCS PLC, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you in the show.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good afternoon. So definitely, it's all about this bumper rate hike yesterday by the MPC. We've heard a lot of reactions to that. By the end of the day, businesses will have to pay more of their going to get loans at this time. So how are you seeing this latest hike? Was it in line with your expectation?
The voice is not very clear, but if I get you, you're trying to tie out the decision of the MPC yesterday with the market.
Yes.
So certainly, one of our biggest challenges in Nigeria today is inflation, whether we like it or not. And if you curb inflation, then you have started solving the problem in that context. And I think in a possible rate hike, and we've seen the impact of it in the last couple of weeks in terms of the slowdown in terms of inflation. And I think, it's a very painful decision, but in my mind, it's something that needs to be done.
Right, and at this time, how do you see capital market players actually responding to this? Most of the listed companies right now, do you think they're overburdened at this point? When it comes to lending rates in Nigeria and this high interest environment.
So definitely, the normal economy says that when interest rates go high, stock markets go low. But in the context of the Nigerian economy, it's slightly a little bit different. So manufacturers, businesses, and all of those who borrow money to facilitate production, once the cost of borrowing is very high, then they look for alternatives. And in this case, I believe that the capital market provides that alternative at a cheaper rate. And so you're likely to see a gravitation towards, for those companies that really understand cost of capital, they're likely to begin to inch towards the capital market because of the cost of lending. And also, because the SEC itself and the NGX, over the last couple of months have begun to, collaboratively work together to bring down the barriers that allow for companies to easily come to the market. And some of it are really working. You can see from the bank aspect where the recent capitalization has, pushed banks to come to the market to raise money. And all of the, technology services and the approvals have been put in place to actually fast track that. And so, in my mind, that should also begin to dovetail into other issuers who are looking for alternatives to raise capital and come to the market. In my mind, we're going to see advisors beginning to come for approvals for new issuances, whether it's rights, whether it is outright IPOs.
And maybe we dovetail into more listings, I guess, for the market. But let's look at another issue. Right now, we know it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and that's coming up next month, I think. But particularly, what would you say is the significance of this, for Nigeria's capital markets? We know we've been talking a lot about, introducing technology, into our capital markets where people can just easily trade on their phones, and we're seeing that gradually, grow, at this time. Talk to me about how this can be achieved, with cybersecurity issues in our capital market.
So this is very simple for us. And I think this is a discussion that's happening in all board meetings. And if it's not happening, then it should start happening. Top of the risk for most companies these days is cybersecurity. Because the world is becoming interconnected. Everybody is using the internet. We're all connecting to each other. And the challenges are very real. So, you're likely to see sophisticated cyber attacks and insider threats that are already happening, that are not reported. There's significant digitization of the trading platforms that we have and the banks also. There's the fintech growth that's happening. Automation all over is happening, and that also creates some vulnerability. So we're thinking about real-time transaction, which happens every day. What are the things that really could occur? Breach containment. And again, we're all interconnected. And now because we're all interconnected, that risk still exists. So what do we do, and how do we bring the awareness to the market and to the participants and to the companies who are actually sitting down and doing all of these things? And I think that from the part of the CSCS, it is important that we are proactive in terms of our strategies for cybersecurity. It's important that we ensure that there's trust in the market. It is important that we safeguard against any potential disruptions in our financial systems from any cyber attacks. And it's crucial for us, even in the capital market, to emphasize this need for a robust security. I just mentioned that technology is being built for us across the market to facilitate issuances like we've seen in the banks that have come. There's increasing reliance on technology. Those things require for us to begin to think, how do we safeguard all of the things that we're doing from automation? And the intent is that's why we're having that cybersecurity awareness conference. But let me also say this. We're very, very happy that the Office of National Security Advisor, who, if you notice, the cybersecurity law that has just been passed sits or domesticates itself in the NSA's office. And so we went ahead and sat down with them and agreed that, look, we understand the importance of this. We, as a market infrastructure in Nigeria, the role we play is critical. And so we decided to partner to do the next cybersecurity conference together with the ONSA office.
Right, and talking about cybersecurity talent, now we know the jackpot syndrome has hit most of these industries. We're seeing most of this talent, try to find greener pastures abroad. What's the plan to attract, most of these cybersecurity talents to actually stay in and actually help secure cyberspace?
So when you talk about talent, for me, honestly, it's not a problem. Because talent by itself, so let me put it this way. Since COVID, right, the workforce has changed, the work environment has changed, the way we do work has changed, the reward for work has changed. And so if we have all of this happening, it doesn't matter where anybody sits. It is, do you contribute? Are you available when it's needed? How much do you contribute? Are you competent enough? Do you service when you're needed? So for me, the jackpot syndrome, at least within the tech space, is good and bad, but I think it's more good than bad because in any case, even before we build competencies in Nigeria, we used to hire people from India, from the US, from anywhere to work for us within different time zones. And if you have our own people who speak our language, understand our culture, and acquiring these skills, then we have to hire them, even though paying dollars or whatever it is, to feed us back into what is necessary for us to protect our environment. And I think it's not bad, and it's being fixed. For example, our own acting CISO doesn't sit in Lagos. He sits somewhere in Canada, and he's a Nigerian. But it doesn't stop him from doing his work. And so these days, globalization and the internet has brought out opportunities that, anybody can sit anywhere and do work. And like I said, things have changed and we have to adapt very quickly for that.
Right, and I guess that's growth of remote work at this time. But what emerging cyber threats should capital markets in Nigeria be preparing for right now?
Please, you have to repeat that question. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I said, what emerging, cybersecurity threats should Nigerian capital markets be preparing for?
So if I get you correctly, I said, what are the emerging things that happen in Nigeria? So, for example, there are initiatives around standards. We are collaborating with the SEC, with the NGX, and all the trading points to ensure that standards are set, and we begin to share threat intelligence either through our SOCs, because we outsource our own. We also conduct capacity building programs and host small webinars to ensure that that awareness is put in place, because we're as weak as our weakest point. As we begin to interconnect across all channels, those other if you like, intermediaries who connect to us, whether they're vendors or otherwise, they create a risk for us if they are not aware of what we do. So, across markets, things have to be done. We have to have that awareness. The markets have to collaborate. And so, as we begin to do that interconnectivity within the context of the markets, like I mentioned about the trading platforms, the offer platforms, the connectivities that are happening with APIs that we built, it becomes important that everybody's aware, and we want quicker services, we want secure services, but then in the back of our minds, as we do those things, we have to be aware of those emerging cyber threats that exist within our systems.
All right, well, we'll be preparing for Cybersecurity Month. That's next month. Thank you so much for coming on, Mr. Haruna Jallo Waziri, Managing Director, CSCS PLC. Thank you so much.
Thank you.